Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to the second semi-final of Battle Royale. We're nearly at the end now. Can't believe this started before Christmas back in October. And before we go on today, I just want to thank everyone that took part in this competition this year. It's been a lot of fun. We've had some issues, but we've overcome them and we're coming down to the business end now, and today's semi-final is between David Hunt's Never Mind the Bollocks by Sex Pistols and Simon Vinyl Dale Sergeant Pepper's. So when Mike did the draw, out come the Sex Pistols first. Now Never Mind the Bollocks, as we all know, was released in October in 1977. And as we found out in the last round, there's a lot of controversial stuff about the release of this album. I found out another little bit of thing. Now, before Virgin could release this, Richard Branson discovered that two other Sex Pistols albums were competing with his label. A bootleg named Spunk, featuring high-quality recordings of Sex Pistols demos and recording sessions with Dave Goodman, were released with Blank. Among the rumours behind the releases include Goodman, Glenn Matlock and McLaren, who's always considered Goodman's versions to be more accurate of the band. So they had to go and sort all that out. Which is about right for Sex Pistols. But it finally got out on our shelves, and it came out, and let's have a look at what people thought about it. Now, when this came out, there was an advanced order for 125,000 copies. So yeah, people wanted this. So let's see what some of our critics think now. So let's go to Chris Gowell's record guide, Robert Christgau. You know, he's one of my favourite critics. So this is what he wrote. So he says, get this straight. No matter what the chickmongers want to believe, to call this band dangerous is more than suave existentialist compliment. They mean no good. It won't do to pass off Rotten's hatred and disgust as role-playing gusto of the performance. It's too convincing. Which is why this is such an impressive record. So he actually likes it. The forbidden ideas one from which Rotten makes songs take on truth value. Whether it's sympathetic, Holidays in the Sun is a hysterically frightening vision of global economics, which it is, or filled with loathing bodies and excitement for Rotten, doesn't altogether exclude himself. These ideas must be dealt with and can be expected to affect the way the fans think and behave. I don't think no one did. It was just good music. Who cares about the words as long as the riffs are there? In 1983, the Bollocks brothers released a track-by-track cover version of the album called Never Mind the Bollocks 1983. So I don't know why they did that. So in 1985, NME writers voted this album as their 30th greatest album of all time. But in 1993, they said it was the third greatest of all time. Rolling Stones magazine named it the second best album of the previous 20 years, only behind a certain album we'll be talking about later. The same magazine named it the 41st on their list of 500 greatest ever albums in 2003. So it's always been good, but it maintained that position when they updated their list in 2012. But unfortunately dropped to Dev 73 in 2020. Rolling Stone journalist Charles M. Young stated, "Never mind the Bollocks changed everything. They had never been anything like it before, and really there's never been anything quite like it since. The closest probably was Nirvana, a band heavily influenced by the Sex Pistols. And this is what Kurt Cobain said from Nirvana. He listed this in his top 50 favourite albums, and the title of Nirvana's second album, Nevermind, was inspired by the Sex Pistols album, which angered Rotten at his time. In 1997, the Millennium Poll said it was the greatest album of all time, number 24. 2005 again, it was ranked number 276 in Rock Hard magazine's 500 greatest albums, so it's about halfway. And Time magazine chose it as one of their 100 greatest albums ever. Another person that of significance that liked this album was Noel Gallagher. And when he was interviewed for a BBC programme called When Albums Rule the World in 2013, he said the album's opening with Holidays in Sun is that extremely provocative that we all can assume is jackboots, which he followed saying as soon as it starts, everything has gone before it and is deemed irrelevant. He said of Pretty Vacant, one of the first things you learn when you pick up the electric guitar is that riff. So, people have been saying it. Now, how's this? In 1996, Virgin reissued Nevermind the Bollocks with the bootleg Spunk. As Spunk, this is crap. only the Sex Pistols or Virgin could do that. So let's have a look at the reviews and what the professionals said. So AllMusic did give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Chris Gale gave it an A. Classic Rock gave it a 10 out of 10. The Encyclopedia of Popular Music, these are all out of 5, so that's 5 stars. The Guardian 5 stars. Mojo 5 stars, which I find hard because Mojo is not punk. Q 5. The Rolling Stone Album Guide 5. Spin Alternative Record Guide 10 out of 10, and Uncut gave it an 8 out of 10. So they didn't give it the full marks. So how did the fans like it? Well, all over the world, it really did well. Top 30 album in most countries. Australia, when it came out, was number 23. In Holland, they loved it because it got to number 9. Sweden, it was number 12. New Zealand, 27. Norway, number 11. Here in the UK, it got to number 1. And it went straight to number 1. Straight in at number 1. So it's a very, very popular album. In America, it got to 106. They weren't quite ready for it, was they? They were still doing disco when this come out, and roller skating discos and all that sort of thing. So, okay. In the chart between 2000 and 2005, it got to number 100 in Spain and number 20 here in the UK. So when it came out, it's great that after all these years it's still very, very popular. Then the charts between 2012 and 2016, and the Belgian, both the Flanders and Watania charts, one got to 180, 125, French 101, Germany 77, and here in the UK, number 24. So it's still being brought, up until 2016, it was still being brought, which is fantastic. And at the year-end performance of 1977, put up against everything else, it still managed number 12, which was a fantastic feat. So how many discs did it get? Well, it's still all right. So let's have a look at the gold. It got gold in Belgium, Italy, Netherlands and Sweden. 2 times platinum here in the UK and platinum in the United States. So they finally got the gist of it. I think they got the gist of it as an after effect. So there we go. There's a few more facts and figures of the Sex Pistols. Never mind the Bollocks. So good luck to David. It's a great album. It's an iconic album, and it's deserved to be a semi-finalist, I think. But he is up against a tough one, and that's Simon's Sgt. Pepper's, released 26th of May 1967. So it's nearly, this album, which is, it's hard to believe, is nearly 57 years old. Yes. So how did they launch this? Well, they previewed it on private radio station Radio London, and officially on the Light programme show, where Mr. Kenny Everett played the entire album apart from A Day in the Life. The day before Everett's broadcast, Epsom hosted a launch party in Belgravia. So that was our thing. So when it came out, what did the Melody Maker? At its first listen, they said it's a typical of the Beatles, penchant and innovation. Yes. And the party actually marked the band's first interaction with the press in close to a year. And the NME wrote that they had been virtually incommunicado over the time, leading to a national newspaper's complaint that the band were competitive and secretive. Probably just working, you never know. So the public reaction, it was the soundtrack of the Summer of Love, and during the year, author Peter Lavoisi calls a watershed moment in the West when we, in the search of higher consciousness, an alternative worldview had reached critical mass. Rolling Stones magazine Langdon Ringer recalled the release of Pepper coincided with a period of advent in dedicant rock criticism. Commentators sought to recognise artistry in pop music, particularly the Beatles' work, and identified albums as refined artistic statements. In America, the approach had been highlighted by the Strawberry Fields' Penny Lane single. The Rock Revolution broadcast in 1967 was done on the release of it, and in author Bernard Grendon's description, a discouraged frenzy ensured that Newsweek and other publications from cultural mainstream were increasingly voiced as their static towards the Beatles. Let's have a look. Tom Phillips of the Village Voice said when he called the LP one of the most ambitious and most successful record album ever issued. Peter Jones of the Record Mirror said the album was clever, brilliant, but raucous to a point and back again. Disc and Music Echoes reviewer called it beautiful, potent record, unique, clever and stunning. In the Times, no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, William Mann described Sgt. Pepper as a pop music masterclass and commented that so considerable where the music advances, the only track that would have been feasible in pop songs 5 years ago was With a Little Help from My Friends. Peter Clayton of the Gramophone magazine, I like that, the Gramophone, said that the new album was nearly everything that the Beatles do: bizarre, wonderful, perverse, beautiful, exciting, provocative and explorating. So there's so many. In America they loved it. Richard Goldstein didn't, though. He wrote a scathing review, and he said he called Sgt. Pepper was a spoiled child of an album with special effects dazzling but ultimately fraudulent. Oh, but I bet he regretted saying that. But he did say he admired A Day in the Life comparing to the work of Richard Wagner. Yeah, interesting. So let's have a look what the old professional people gave their ratings. So, AllMusic, this is over the years as well, have given it, these are all 5 stars. 5 stars. The Daily Telegraph, 5. Encyclopedia Popular Music, 5. Music Hound Rock, 5 out of 5. Pace gave it 89 out of 100. Pitchfork gave it a 10 out of 10. Q gave it a 4-star. The Rolling Stone album gave 5. Sputnik Music 5 out of 5, and the Village Voice A. So let's have a look what it was like when it came out in 1967. Where did it do in the charts? Well, it got to number 1 in the following countries: Australia, Canada, France, Norway, Sweden, UK, US and West Germany. When it was reissued back in 1987, again, US number 1. Well, it would, because they go ballistic. Doesn't matter how many times they release an album in the Beatles, everyone in America that's a Beatles fan has to have it. Oh, I've got to have it. I've got to have it. You only need 1 copy. UK albums got to number 3, Japan number 3, and Dutch Mega Albums chart. I like that, Mega. Number 2. We had a reissue in 2009 and it got to number 16 in Australia, number 22 in Belgium, and number 20 in Brazil. 20 in Denmark, 9 and in Italy and Finland, number 20 in Japan. New Zealand 12, Norway 31, Portuguese album charts number 4, Spain 22, Sweden number 8, and number 5 in the UK again. 2017. Another reissue. Australia 7, Austria 3, number 1 in Belgium, number 2 in Ireland, number 1 here in the UK, and number 3 in America. So it doesn't matter how many times it gets reissued, it gets to number 1 somewhere, and it also got to number 1 in the Scottish charts. Everywhere else, apart from Finland, Mexico and Poland, was top 10. Unbelievable. So let's have a look at the end of year charts for 1967. Obviously it was number 1 here in the UK and Australia, number 10 in America, which ain't too bad. 68 the year later, number 6 on the Billboard in Australia, number 3. End of the decade in the UK, it was number 1. So, certifications, loads. Worldwide, it has sold 32 million copies. That's a lot, isn't it? Argentina 2 times platinum, unbelievable. And then there's 87 CD issued, mate, it was 3 times platinum. Australia 4 times platinum, Brazil gold, 8 times platinum in Canada, Denmark 3, gold in France, platinum in Germany, platinum in Italy, and that's sales since 2009, not since 1967. 6 times platinum in New Zealand, 18 times platinum here in the UK, and 11 times in America. Absolutely still sells, and if they reissued it tomorrow with the next, it still will do well. So good luck with that, Simon. These are 2 great albums. We'll bring them both back up on now for different reasons, for different types of youth. That's what I think this is. These 2 albums have got one thing in common. It was what was going on with the youth at the time. And both sets of the youth of that time took this album into their hearts. And I think they're both still incredible albums. And this is going to be a tough one. It really is, because even though the musically they are poles apart, they're not poles apart when it comes to things in common about youth culture and rebellions and that sort of thing. And for the time, they were both initiative. So good luck, David and Simon. This is going to be a monster. So how do you vote for one of these two albums to go into the final? Well, from 2 o'clock today in the community tab, the poll will be up and running. During the live stream tonight, Dave and I will keep putting up the link to go and vote. It also appears at the top of what's on next week. So if you want to vote, and you know, just go to Arts on Friday, the what's on next week video goes up, and it'll be in the description box there. It'll be in the description box of this video, and you have until midnight next Wednesday, and then next Thursday on the live stream we will know the final of Battle Royale. Okay, that's all for this. Couple of weeks time we will have, well, next week we'll have a review of the semi-final with me, Dave and myself, because that's when we will announce the winner of the semi-final in the review. What we got next for you? Well, we've got pick and mix, and we're gonna have a trip down memory lane today, and we're gonna have a look at the UK charts for the 16th of May 1957. So that's all coming up. So I will see you later, and don't forget, live stream tonight. Bye for now.